Hello Cloud Gurus, and welcome to this lesson where I'll be demonstrating how to set up a brand new AWS environment to use for this course. Firstly, I'll take you through setting up a brand new environment. Now, some students might not have done this before, so I think it adds value to step through it and show the best practice things that you need to do to secure the environment. Then I'll take you through installing the required languages, prerequisites, SDKs and modules within your operating system. And I'll cover three main operating systems that are supported for this course, namely OS X, Windows 10 and Linux, specifically Ubuntu. Now I've made separate lessons which detail the setup for each operating system, and that's 3 in total. Feel free to skip the ones which don't apply, as each video will contain all of the steps you need to set up beginning to end. So don't feel the need to waste your time watching them all unless you're interested. So let's get started with the creation of the AWS environment. And my suggestion is that you use an account dedicated to this course. It makes things easier and safer. You won't need to worry about damaging any production systems, and you can delete the account at the end of the course to ensure that you don't have anything left over costing you money. On the subject of money, AWS provides something called a free tier for new AWS accounts. Now it lasts for the first 12 months and provides an amount of each service for free during that month. Specifically for DynamoDB, AWS provide 25 gig of free database storage and a generous amount of performance allocation for each table that forms part of that 25 gigs. Now, it's my intention for this course that most elements that we'll do will form part of this free tier and thus won't cost any money. There are a few lessons which have components that do fall outside this tier, and I will identify when this is the case so that you'll know in advance. Additionally, I'll try to provide you with an estimate of how much the lesson will cost, and you can make your own decision whether it's worth following along with the lesson or just watching me perform the tasks. With that said, let's get started and move on to the demonstration. So let's get started with creating the account. The first thing we need to do is to go to the Amazon Web Services homepage. And the easiest way to find that is to type Amazon Web Services into Google. Now this will bring up a number of paid for sponsored ads, and we don't want those, so you can skip past them. Locate the first link that does not have the ad symbol next to it, and it should say Amazon Web Services AWS Cloud Computing Services. Go ahead and click that and we'll go to the main AWS page. Now we can click on create a free account to begin the process. Now this screen is where you sign into an existing account or create a new one. Now the first thing I'm going to do is click the I am a new user selection, and you'll notice that grays out the box asking for a password, and that's intentional. So go ahead and pick an email address to associate with this account and type it in. And keep in mind that you may be throwing this account away at the end of the process. If that's the case, you can pick something throwaway, but if you are going to maintain the account, try and pick something that makes sense. And I'm going to go ahead and pick DynamoDB course at Cantrell.io, which is my domain. Click on sign in using our secure server, and this will take us to the next screen where we're asked for our name, we're asked to confirm the email address, and we're asked to pick a password for the account. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So once that's done, click on create account. Okay, so this screen is going to ask for either company information or personal information to associate with the account. It's pretty obvious what you need to do. If you're a personal user, tick this, enter name, country, address, city, phone number, type in the captcha, tick the box and click create. Now I'm not going to show all of these details because I don't want people knowing my personal details, and also it's pretty boring to watch me type. So I'm going to skip to the next screen. Do pay special attention to the phone number. It is a required field and it will be used. So enter something real, and I would suggest a mobile number at this point. Now on this screen you'll be asked for credit card details, and I want to stress again that you will not be billed as long as you follow the details in this course, unless I specifically mention that there is a cost attached to a lesson. So you can safely put a credit card in here. Again, I'm not going to show you those details because I don't want people knowing my credit card details, so I'm going to enter those and skip to the next step. Now on this screen you'll be asked to provide a valid telephone number. The box will be pre-filled with the telephone number you entered on the previous screen. If it's correct, you can click on Call Me Now, otherwise edit it and then click the button. Now what this is going to do, Amazon will call your mobile phone and you'll be asked to enter a PIN number which will be showed on your screen shortly. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. You will hear my phone ring at some point and you will hear me enter a PIN. So there's my PIN, 2305, and you should hear my phone ring momentarily. There we go.
Hello, this is an automated call from Amazon Web Services. Using the touchpad on your phone, please enter the 4-digit PIN number that was displayed on your screen. We have successfully verified your PIN. Please return to Amazon Web Services to complete your registration. Thank you for...
So once that's done, once you can see the call in progress and provided telephone number have been ticked and your PIN's disappeared, you can click the button to continue to select a support plan. Now if this is an account that you're going to throw away as part of the course, the default option, which is basic, is the one you should pick. There is no cost associated with this one and you only get basic community support. 90% of the time you can leave the selection as basic. So I'm going to go ahead and click on continue. And there we go, that's the account created. So to complete the sign up, I'm going to click on the button saying complete sign up. And this will take me back to the console sign-in screen. And all I'll be asked for here is the password I used to complete the sign up earlier. And I'll go ahead and type that in. And this will log me into the account. So again, I'll click don't save. And this is the AWS console. Now, some of you may have not had any experience with this so far, so don't worry about that. I'll show you and demonstrate all of the areas that you need to know. And now we're logged into the AWS console. Now, some of you may not have used this before. Don't worry, I will demonstrate any of the areas which are important to the course as we proceed through the lessons. For some of you, this may be completely familiar, and for some of you, you may have used the old version of the console, which doesn't look like this. But you should know that all of the areas and all the features are pretty much identical. The first thing we're going to do is a number of steps needed to secure the account. Now these are not mandatory, but I strongly recommend that you complete these on any new AWS accounts that you make. Right now, the only thing securing this account is a username, i.e. the email address, and a password. And we're going to change that. We're going to make it more secure. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to add multi-factor authentication onto the account so that you need a one-time generated number every time you log in. And the second thing we're going to do is we're going to make you a specific user to use initially rather than logging in with this account, which is the admin or root account of the AWS account. The first thing we do is click here and we go to security credentials. And don't worry about this screen. We're going to click continue to security credentials. And these are the security credentials for the main admin or root account. The first thing we're going to do is to click here, which is multi-factor authentication. You click on activate MFA and you click on a virtual MFA device. Now at this point, you're going to need an application to support MFA. Now I'm going to use Authy because it's a cross-platform application that's supported on the iPad, under OS X and on my phone. You should check for an appropriate application, but as a base level, the Google Authenticator app is available for Android and iOS, so should fulfill your need. So go ahead and download that, pause the video while you do, as you'll need it for the next step. So assuming you've got an Authenticator app now, let's click on next step. And what you'll see is a QR code. Now the instructions may vary depending on the application you use, but what you need to do is to scan the QR code into the MFA application, and that will generate you a one-time use code, and this will change every 30 seconds or so. What you need to do is enter one code and then straight away the next code into each of these boxes and click activate virtual MFA. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to scan the QR code, and you might be prompted to name the account. I'm going to call this DynamoDB root. And at this point, you'll have a one-time use code generated. So I'm going to enter that into the first box. And now I need to wait a couple of seconds to generate the second code. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And as soon as that's done, I'm going to click Activate Virtual MFA. What that means is rather than just needing the username and password to log into this account, now we'll be asked for a one-time use code. And that code will be generated every 30 seconds on your mobile device. That means that even if somebody else knows your username and your password, they won't be able to access the account without this code, and the code changes every 30 seconds. So straight away you've added a significant amount of security to the account, and given the fact that you can get bill shock by people exploiting weaknesses in your passwords and logging into your Amazon accounts, it's always best practice to secure it with an MFA device. So that's the root account. The next thing, however, is I highly recommend you never log in with the root account. The root account has full access to everything inside the AWS environment. Now, AWS provide a service called Identity and Access Management, and this is referred to as IAM or IAM. IAM provides a way of creating individual accounts which have a cut down set of permissions. The root account automatically has admin level permissions to your entire AWS account, and this can never be changed. So if this is ever exploited, it's really dangerous. So by using IAM, you can create users that still have admin or have a lot less permissions. And if those accounts are ever exploited, the damage is a lot less. So the first thing I advise any AWS administrator to do after they secure the account with MFA is to configure IAM and at least one administrative user through IAM. So the first thing to know is to log into IAM accounts. There's a separate URL. You don't log in with the main AWS page. So we're going to go ahead and customize that URL first to make it a little bit easier. And this is basically your AWS account number .signin.aws.amazon.com. So let's change that. So we're going to create an account alias, and normally what I like to do is to name the account something really simple that makes sense to you. It does have to be unique, however, as this URL is shared across the entire AWS set of accounts for everyone. So we're going to go ahead and pick something that I know will be unique. So I'm going to say ACG DynamoDB. So now you can see our URL's changed, acg dynamodb.signin.aws.amazon.com. So this is the URL that we're going to use whenever we log in to an IAM account. So it's the one that you're probably going to use for the remainder of the course. So I'd highly recommend you note this down now, as we're going to use it almost straight away. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a single user that's also going to have admin privileges. So it's going to be the same as our root account, but it's going to be used for all accesses through the console to AWS. So I'm going to go ahead and click on user, create new users, and I'm going to call this DDB admin for DynamoDB admin, and I'm going to untick generate access key for each user, and this will make more sense why we're doing this shortly. Go ahead and click create, and this is our admin user, although it's not for now because it has no admin permissions. So the first thing we do is we click on the user, and we click on permissions, and we attach a policy. Now AWS have got lots of managed policies, and the one we're interested in at this point is the administrator access. So go ahead and click this one and attach the policy. So don't worry about the details of what we're doing yet. I will go through this in later lessons. For now, just know that we've made a user, we've given it administrator access, and we're about to assign an MFA to this user and configure a password. So let's go ahead and do that. So manage password, assign a custom password, and pick something that makes sense. And you can either tick this or not. I'm going to leave my password as something simple and click apply. And then just as with the root account, I'm going to click manage MFA device, and we're going to assign an MFA to this account. So we'll still need to log in using this one-time generated password. And the process is the same. So you need to scan the QR code, and it'll generate 2 codes again. And that's done. So that means that we can log in to this IAM user and we have administrator access. There's one more thing we need to do, and that will make the rest of the course a little bit easier. If we click on here and we go to my account, we're going to scroll down and we're going to provide IAM user access to the billing information. And given that I want you to use this IAM account for the rest of the course, this will make sure that you can see if you're costing money at any point during the course. So click activate IAM access and click on update. And that means when you log in with this IAM account, you'll have full access to the billing portal. So let's click on here and go back to IAM dashboard. So now we need this URL. So let's make sure we copy it again and open a new tab and paste it. And this will take us to a slightly different looking login screen. And you'll see here it lists the account, a username and password. So the account name is the account alias that we created a second ago, ACG DynamoDB. And we need to enter the details of the IAM user. And you'll see you'll be asked for the MFA code to sign in, and it's the code for the IAM user, not the root account, because you will have 2 in your MFA application. And you'll see we now logged into the console. So that's the account secured. So the next step, Cloud Gurus, is you need to pick a region. Now AWS is available worldwide in many different regions. You'll see that there's one in North Virginia, California, Oregon, Ireland and Frankfurt for European students, We've also got one in Sydney, Mumbai, Singapore, and etc. There's basically regions all over the world. Now, it makes sense for you to pick a region that is close to where you are geographically. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pick North Virginia, even though I'm based in Sydney, as I want to make sure that when I'm demonstrating these features, I'm doing so in a US region where most of our students are from. It makes sense for you to pick a region and to stick with it for the duration of the course, as it makes it easier to keep track of resources that you create as part of the course. So I would strongly recommend you do that. So pick a region now, and from this point onward, make sure that this selection is always either this region or it says global in the case of some services. Okay, the next thing I want you to do, Cloud Gurus, is to go back to the main AWS console and to locate EC2. Click on EC2 and do make sure that you're in your region that we just agreed that you'd select. So for example, I'm still in North Virginia. Now on this left-hand side, scroll down to key pairs. Click on Create Key Pair and name this DDB course. And this will mean that you don't have to change any of the scripts or templates that we use for the duration of the course. So this is important, Cloud Gurus. Please do call this the same as what's on your screen now, DDB course. When you click Create, you'll be asked to download a file, and you need to make sure that this file is stored somewhere safe and secure, because you can only get this once when you generate a key pair. If you do lose it, you'll need to delete it and recreate. So please keep this somewhere safe. You'll notice that the file is downloaded, and on a Mac, you can go to Show Finder, and you'll see ddbcourse.pem, and that's a secure SSH key. So we'll keep that handy. And if we click on Show in Finder on OS X, we'll notice that the key file is stored here, ddbcourse.pem, and that's a secure SSH key. So we'll make sure we keep that handy and go back to the main screen. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to have you do is open a new browser tab. Now we're going to use an AWS product called CloudFormation, which is an automation and orchestration tool. We're going to use CloudFormation to create a lab machine, and this lab machine is going to be used to perform all of the demo exercises throughout this course. Now you're welcome to use your local machine, but just be aware that it might be a little bit slower due to the latency between it and AWS. We're also going to use CloudFormation to create a number of IAM users which the demo exercises will use. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to access the course files, and to do that we're going to go to a GitHub repository for this course. Now the URL for this will be displayed on your screen now. I do recommend that you bookmark this URL, as we'll use it multiple times throughout the course. So the easiest way to get access to the resources for each lesson is via the Cloud Guru resources section. However, if you want to download them all in one go, you can come to this GitHub repository, you can click on the clone or download button, and you can click on download zip. Once this is completed, you can open the zip file and you'll have access to all of the files for this course, including the lab machine JSON and the loadmin.json. And these are the CloudFormation templates that I discussed a second ago. So go back to your AWS console, click on Services, and go to CloudFormation. From the CloudFormation screen, click on Create a New Stack. Select Upload a Template to Amazon S3 and click Choose File, and locate the download folder which we just downloaded from GitHub. And I'm going to do the loadmin.json first. Click on Next, and you'll be asked for a stack name, and type in loadmin. Low stands for Learning Online and is the name of the major case study within this course. Once that's completed, click on Next, Next again, and down the bottom there'll be two tick boxes, so go ahead and select both of those and click on Create. And that will take a few minutes, but what that's doing in the background is that's making a single IAM user called loadmin, and it's also creating access keys for this user. And what I'll do is I'll pause the video until this is complete, and now this is complete. So the next thing we're going to do is click on Create Stack again, upload template to S3, but this time we're going to pick the labmachine.json. Click on Next, and for this stack name we'll call it Lab Machine. Click Next, Next again. This time you won't be prompted for confirmation as last time because we're not creating any IAM resources. So go ahead and just click Create, and this template will go ahead and create an EC2 instance, configure the instance, install all of the prerequisites, and download the course files from the GitHub repository. So again, this will take a few minutes to create, so I'll go ahead and pause the video until this is complete. Okay, so both of these have completed now, and if we click on the lab machine and click on resources, you'll see that we've got an EC2 instance created that is functioning as our lab machine. And if we click on the EC2 instance ID, you'll be taken to the instance, And you can see that it's got a public IP address and it's using the DDB course key pair that we created earlier. So this is accessible now, and we'll detail this when the time comes in the demo sections of the course. Well, thanks for listening, Cloud Gurus, and this is the end of this lesson detailing the initial AWS account setup. Over the next 3 lessons, I'll be demoing how to set up each individual client operating system, so we'll be doing OS X, Linux, and Windows. And all of those lessons will be end-to-end lessons, and we'll detail all of the steps needed to configure the OS, download any prerequisites, and configure those prerequisites. Thanks for listening. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out directly or via the Cloud Guru forums. Otherwise, feel free to complete this lesson and move on to the next.